How's it going, everyone? This is Casual Chris, and the day has finally come where I get a tutorial on the Digital D1. Yes, I did a tutorial earlier on this and got absolutely killed in the comments because it wasn't very thorough, and it's true. My production style is to find sounds quickly and get them out. I was not focused on sound design at all. It was more just find a sound, make a song, and then if I wanted to change the sound, I'll go in and change the sound. So I never really dove deep into a synth until now with the Digital D1. I have been using this for the past 3 months. I will say on every song, pretty much every song has this synth on it. So far in 2020, every song I've made has this synth on it. That's how much I use this synth. If you look at my videos, you will see this synth in a lot of my videos. I noticed it the other day. I was like, cool. And the reason why is because I wanted to master a synth. You only need to master one synth to understand all synths. There's a lot. That's not really a true statement. There's a lot of synths out there. There's a lot of different features on them. But for the most part, if you can master one, you can really master all of them. You can at least get the basics of all of them. So that's what I've heard before. So I decided to jump in on one synth and see if I can master it. See if I can get better at understanding how to make a sound out of this. So in comes the Digital D1, and this is, now it's become my favorite synth to use just because, I know how to navigate this thing. So, check this out. This is the layout of the synth. This is what it's going to look like from the get-go. These are your keys here. These are your layers, your mix, your master. The layer 1 and layer 2 are important. Those are what's giving you your sound. Now, those knobs, you go to the left, that's going to give you that's going to give you less layer 2. You go to the right, that's going to give you more of layer 2. Up here, it's pretty useful. You will see the percentage up in this screen here. So pay attention to that percentage because it'll allow you to be precise. It'll allow you to remember where that knob was before you moved it. So that is important. And yeah, I can't tell you how important that is to pay attention to that knob because you can lose your whole sound by playing with one knob on here. That's what sound design is. So going into this, we're gonna drop the keyboard. We're just gonna take a look at the whole synth here. So to do that, you just hit that button there. Now, before you get it does look a little, it can look to some people a little taunting or daunting, but it's really not that bad. It's laid out pretty good. So layer 1, layer 2, to the left is where you turn it off, to the right is where you add more percentage of it. So you can mix the layers of those in there. You can mix the mix of or the balance of how much in between you want those two. So how much layer 2 or how much layer 1. So that's cool. Master is how loud you want your synth to be. You have some effects here. You got an auto pan, some tremolo. This is going to give you a vibrato effect. If you don't know what vibrato effect, think of like a wave. Think of something that moves. I'm just going to play around with it for a second. There we go. So that gives it like that cool move. So if your synth is dry, dry means no effects. It kind of seems stale. There's nothing to it. The easiest thing you could do is add some tremolo, some depth, and that's going to make it move. It's going to make it go like a wave like this, how it sounds. So that's a easy trick that you can do to any sound that this thing pops up, and give it some more movement. Your filters. So the filters, you can turn this on and off by clicking these here. These are just going to give you a filter effect. This is a low, almost like a high pass, but it has a filter on it. So you can definitely see what these things do. And then you turn it off by just hitting that. Again, this is just controls what layer. So you can do the same thing on those two layers. Again, primarily you will be working with these two layers if you are doing anything, and then you're adding effects on those layers. So it really gives you a lot of tools to make sure that you're not making the same sound as anybody else. Like, it's probably impossible to make the same sound as anybody else, or you could make a sound that's just, different from everybody else, and 100,000 people have this app. That's how much stuff you can do with this thing. And again, most synths are like this too. Most synths have a lot of this. So once you learn one synth, again, you can learn them all. So those are your main. This is your main hub right here. This is your main hub. It goes into way more detail, and I'm gonna show you a little bit more about this. But this is your layer section here. Next is we have the reverb section here. You can move to a room, studio hall. This is pretty cool stuff here. Again, everything that you do, the way I learned what all this stuff does, besides just knowing a little bit, is just playing with the knobs. So don't overthink this at all. It's cool to like learn names and all this, but at the end of the day, playing it and messing with knobs will show you a lot more, will show different type of learners a lot more. Maybe you're not a word learner, maybe you are a visual learner. So take a look at that reverb. So that's reverb. It's pretty cool. You can change the reverb again. You could add a low cut so you can take out the lows in there. That's cool. And then you can mix it as well. So that's pretty cool. I like that. Phaser as well. That's another effect that you could do. Stereo delay. That's another effect. Also has a really cool mix knob on there. Cool. These next, again, this is another effects panel, and this is going to be a bit crusher. To turn the bit crusher on, you just simply hit that button, make sure it's highlighted, and then it really did something for there. Work on the mix. That's cool. Turn it off. Click there. Distortion, same thing, same concept. You hit the button to light it up. Start playing with knobs. Distortion. You got your dry, wet knob. That's cool. That's cool. Turn it off there. Next, you got your glide. That's also very useful if you're sitting in mono. If you're making a bass line and you want that thing to glide, you click that button there, and it'll glide for you. Velocity settings. This basically just tells you if you have a newer iPad that really triggers with how hard you press the buttons. This basically lets it know, hey, when I'm playing soft, it's not that I want it soft. It's just I just don't want to break my iPad. So that's that. Chorus, another. Flanger, another. Those are just effects. So what's cool about it is all on the same page. Very easy to get to. You don't have to leave this page, and you can run through a preset and change it. But if you want to go deeper, you hit that layer button, and this is where people in my comments were like, "Whoa, you didn't even touch this," and I agree. I did not even touch this. The layer button. So I'm going to just focus on layer one here. Now, layer one is is going to give you a sound. Layer two is right here. That's going to give you a sound. You mix those layers together, and then you have a new sound. Now, the thing that makes this so complex and so crazy with variations is you hit this button here, and it gives you a bunch of presets of sounds, a bunch. So now you have all these sounds in here. You have all these presets in here. And you have two layers. So you can pick a preset. You can say, I want to change the sound of the preset. Change it to, instead of a 90s lead, change it to this. And now now you have a sound that nobody else has. Now, oh wow, you just took that to a different level. Now you have your attack here, which basically says how fast you want the sound to start. You turn it up for a little bit slower for it to build up. Decay, that's going to kind of mess up the sound a little bit to make it extend it. Sustain, that just makes sure that the sound is playing the entire time that you are holding down the note. Release is going to let you know, is going to tell it when it's going to let go of the note. So the higher I have this, the longer that's going to keep going. And now it stopped. The lower, the quicker it's going to let go. Done. So that's cool. Your semitones right here, this is important. Make sure you're paying attention up here to what you're doing. This is going to tell you where along the keyboard you want your sound to be. This is an important button. I think, there you go. Cool. So this changes the pitch of your layer as well. You could do that. Add some detuning to make it wider. So then you have this layer as well. So you could do it with both layers. You could do a retro sound where cool. So you could do a sound where any of these, or you can go into your a classic synth oscillator and do any of these sounds here, a triangle, square, sine wave, any of that kind of stuff here. So you can do a classic sound, or you can go into their sound banks by hitting that PCM and then really going into some really crazy sounds as well. So now you have the layer mix button that again is going to mix the layer one and layer two. You can tell how much you want of there. You got your attack. You went over the attack settings here. Harmonics, that just gives you an extra layer, an extra feature to give you more sound, to make the sound bigger, more lush. So that's cool. You can control the harmonics. You can control the strength of the harmonics as well. And then, oops. You could add the filters on that as well. So it goes complex. And then we go into the effects. Now the effects, it's the same thing that we saw on the first screen. It's just their own effects there. You can add some grain, some vibrato, but basically on this screen here is going to have your same effects there. LFO, that's pretty complex the way they have it laid out. This is basically dubstep. This is that womp. This is how you make things move, almost like the vibrato, but a lot more in depth. I don't use this very much, but hey, if you want to make this thing whip, you can whip it. So yeah, you could do a lot of just routing to make this thing whip. So it could all go into LFO, whip it. Also has a does this not have a sequencer? Yeah, it does. Also has a sequencer as well built into it. So you can make this thing gate. Turning it on there. What this means is just think of this as a 16. Just think of it as a drum machine almost, a 16-bar loop. 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4. You can change the pitch of each of the bars. So what you could do is say this is, we could all have this at 0. That means nothing is changing of this, and then I can move it up 7 semitones so that it just changes there to there, how it's doing there. So you could create your own sequence instead of trying to hit it with the keys. This is a quick way to do it. I gotta get a better perfect example. So yeah, so as you can see, it goes, starts at 0, jumps up to 12, jumps down to 7, 5. So you can really change your sequence all in here and highlight which ones you want it to do. Turn them off. Which ones you want to skip. Drop that. That's pretty dope. Change the steps to show how many sequences, how many steps along the sequence that you want, and you can change it to ARP as well. So this has a lot of this has a lot going on to it. This is focused on layer 1. You could do it to layer 2. You could do it to both by highlighting them both. So you can you could have it so that only one layer is sequencing. It's so complex. So with this right here, I get why I got killed in the comment section about this. Is because this synth right here is ridiculously complex. You can make an entire sound of this and an album, and no one would ever have the same sounds as you. And you can really get complex once you start routing macros and stuff. So an awesome synth, awesome buy. I hope this helped you out. I hope this helped you navigate a lot more and give you a more in-depth look at what Digital D1 did. Shout out to Matthew for this awesome synth. Not only are they is it a good synth, but they're people. They actually reach out. They actually show love as well too. So it's a great company. Audio Kit, highly recommended by me. So again, thank you for watching. This tutorial is a bit long, but I definitely wanted to go more in depth with what you can do with this Digital D1. It's my favorite synth right now. Thanks for watching, and have a good rest of your weekend.